Oh! Oh!
I don't know if you can see that at home, but
Wow. Hello and welcome to DinnerViews. I'm Matthew Francis, and this is the show where I get to cook a dream dinner for my amazing friends here in Hollywood, and then I interview them about their life, their career, and their points of view on the world. Today, I have an amazing friend with me who's going to be one of my guests. We started off at BuzzFeed together as interns. We both became full-time producers. I was on Tasty, she was on Goodful, and you guys, her videos are always super beautiful, super perfect because like me, she's a perfectionist. And she's also a cinematography master. She went to film school, valedictorian. She's incredible and I cannot wait for you guys to hear her story. Please welcome Crystal Hatch. Yay! Thank you for being here.
thanks for having me.
Of course. I had been wanting to have you on for a long time, but I feel bad because I was kind of pushing. I was like, oh, I don't know where I can fit her in. But you were like, listen, Matt, I just want to have good food, so fit me wherever. And I'm like, perfect. I really love that.
I'm really easy to please.
Yeah.
I'm like, just give me some food, maybe a glass of wine. I'll be there.
Okay, here we go. Here's some wine. So we have a beautiful Sauvignon Blanc. Here, let me pour you some.
Also, this is like one of my favorite wines. And it's only $10.99 at Costco, so it's really not a bad deal.
You know, I always say people who spend way too much money on wine usually don't know what they're doing.
It's so true. Like, I mean, I believe when you watch that documentary, Somm, have you seen that?
I haven't, but I've heard of it many times. I'm sure, like, there's a lot of scamming out there.
Yeah, there's a ton of scamming, but like those people truly have a palate where they can taste something and they're like, this is from, you know, this region and on this continent. And I'm like, how in the world? And I'm like, it's under $20. I'm happy, it tastes good. And then my favorite line is that the one guy in that movie, he's always like, tennis balls? And like,
exactly.
Fresh tennis balls?
They're like making stuff up. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm the same way. Like I studied wine and I still just, I'm like, I can't taste everything. It tastes like grapes. So I gave a little bit of an update just of like, you know, kind of how we know each other and kind of like a little current career path for you. But can you please tell me, as you already know, your kind of abridged life story?
Oh man.
Yeah. So this is really interesting, you guys. And she's like, afraid it's gonna be long. Listen, we're here for it. Go for it. Full thing.
Okay, well, I was born and raised in Southern California, but I actually moved around a lot when I was young because I had sort of a different upbringing. And to skip over all the sad stuff, I ended up being adopted when I was about 11 or 12, and I was brought back to California because I had a parent that was incarcerated. And I moved in with, I call him my dad. He's not my biological dad, but he's absolutely my father. Yeah. Like him adopting me is what saved my life. And he was actually a single father at the time. But he and I had, you know, he had been in my life since I was a baby. He's my father. And so he adopted me, brought me back to California. And then my life was just exponentially better after that. And, when I was young, I always knew that I wanted to work in film. Like I knew I wanted to work in movies. And I was this odd little kid that would watch the behind the scenes of movies more than I would watch the actual movie.
Studying, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when Lord of the Rings came out. Oh gosh, I loved Lord of the Rings. I saw that in theaters so many times. And then the DVD came out and it came out and it said it was gonna have like 4 hours of behind the scenes footage. And I was like, I need that. I need to watch and study that behind the scenes. And I mean, I was like young at the time and I knew I want to do whatever the heck they're doing. And so I ended up working really hard. I got into film school. There was a lot of setbacks along the way, a lot of things that happened. But I did eventually get into film school and I graduated and, you know, then I started working in film and now that's what I do full time. I work at BuzzFeed, and then on the side, I still work on a lot of projects that are just, you know, passion projects for me. Yeah,
you had a film recently that either premiered somewhere, you like finished wrapping it somewhere, you like were filming in Croatia or somewhere, right?
Yeah, so that was actually last year. I took about a month off from BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
They were like,
well
Crystal.
deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah, they're like, Crystal, what are you doing? But I took a month off, and a friend of mine actually flew me out to Europe. We went to Albania, Macedonia, and Kosovo, and we shot a film there.
Wow.
And then I just extended the trip a little and went to Croatia.
To actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was
Oh,
incredible.
so I wasn't wrong. You did go to Croatia for like the vacation part.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong.
And that's, so is that like still being edited, or is it already out, or?
It's still being edited.
Okay.
It's actually a period piece that's in Albanian. It's a really beautiful story. I mean, we shot in the most incredible place, like, on the planet. Like, I feel like Albania is kind of one of those places that, like, most people probably won't end up going.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
Right.
But it was the most beautiful thing. Like, everybody there was, like, some of the most incredibly kind and generous people that I've ever met.
And then did you do the cinematography for that film, or did you
No, for that one, I was a producer and AD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo. Cool. Now that we have had a little bit of a life update, the first thing, as you know, is like a way to kind of get to know you more through food. You've probably seen this because Crystal's one of the few people that does her homework on the show, which I really appreciate. And
I'm such a Hermione.
See, that's my kind of people, Crystal. So good. And tell them, you said you texted me last night about what you were doing. Would you want to share? Because it made me feel really great.
Oh, yeah. So I was actually cooking last night. I was cooking chili verde, chicken chili verde, and I was just listening to a podcast, as I always do while I'm cooking. And last night's podcast happened to be DinnerViews, and it was just really enjoyable to be cooking and like listening to my friends just like chat and laugh, and it was great.
Yeah, and I was like, that's exactly what it's for, so thank you. So made me feel good. Okay, so this game, let's get to it. It's called Fast Food Favorites. I think you already know this, but I'll explain it anyway. It's a game where you pull out like a dairy item, and you'll give your like favorite flavors, like milk or ice cream or something, or whatever comes to mind first.
Okay.
And then you'll put it down here, and we'll keep doing more of those things, and you'll like list off your favorite items from these different categories, and I'll time you, because the goal is to get as many as you can in under 1 minute. Okay.
Under pressure.
Walking down the street. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Grain. Garlic naan.
Oh.
Does that work?
Yes, sure.
Party dip. 7. Leia. Bread. Can I say garlic naan again?
Sure. Why not?
I really love garlic naan. Smoothie. Acai. Rice. Risotto.
Ooh, cooked rice.
Donut.
Nice.
Ooh, cruller, French cruller. Fish, salmon. Pasta sauce, puttanesca. Salad toppings, all of them. Dressing? Burrito filling. Ooh, cheese.
Have to have cheese.
Dairy item, brie cheese.
Ooh, yes, great choice.
Bagel. Jalapeno cheddar.
Ooh.
Nut. Brazil nut. Oh, that's my favorite. Candy. Razzmatazz.
You can do that one.
Lettuce.
Lettuce.
Butter.
Nice and soft. Perfect. Before we count them, I have a few questions. Like, what's a razzmatazz?
Ooh, it's like this. It's like a rope.
Okay.
It's sort of sour and sweet, but it's like a rope covered in sugar.
Oh, okay.
You know, and
I think I've
like,
seen those.
Yeah. Oh,
and they're just like different, like really sour, like fruity.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sweet and or what are those little? It's like a little, it's like a little person, and it's like sweet and sour.
Nerds? No.
Oh, Sour Patch.
It's like a Sour Patch, but in a rope.
Got it. Okay.
Or in like a flat ribbon. It's like a ribbon.
Is there like a childhood memory attached to them? Usually a lot of people love with candy. Like they have, like, as kids they had it a lot.
Yes, here's a funny one. Okay, and this goes back to me like loving to watch behind the scenes.
Oh, nice.
So I used to be obsessed with the show Supernatural. And one Christmas, I asked for the DVD of like the seasons of Supernatural because I found out there were behind the scenes on them. And I watched the behind the scenes, and Jared Padalecki was like behind the scenes one day talking about eating razzmatazz, and I was like, I gotta try some of that, and I did, and I've just loved it ever since.
Wow. I think that was also fueled by a crush, let's be honest. Maybe just a teeny bit. So yeah, count them and let's see what you got.
Okay,
I'll write it down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I lost count. 10,
10, 11, 12.
We'll say 12.
That's pretty good. You beat Jasmine.
Well, but what's the highest?
Of season 2 so far, 19 by Kelsey Dara.
How is that possible?
Same thing. I think she was fast. I think some people, it's hard for them to like, they have to think for a bit and you thought for a bit. I mean, it's part of the game. But the best ever was season 1, Jaleesa with 24.
That's insane.
Yeah, she was.
That's insane.
She was great. But it was still good because even if you didn't get a super high number, we got to know more about you, and that's what really matters. Because
that's fun,
right? Because I think it's fun, and I think food says a lot about you, and it says a lot about like your past. So
right.
I love that game. Okay, so next thing is a segment called What App, where while we eat some appetizers, we'll answer questions from social media apps.
Okay. That's
Cheers.
cute. What app? Cheers. Oh my gosh! I forgot about this. Oh, it looks beautiful. Oh my god.
Okay, you guys, so right here in front of us we have some French onion soup that I made because Crystal loves French onion soup. How does it look?
It looks incredible and it smells incredible, and this is like the biggest bowl of French onion soup.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
That's really all the bowls I kind of have, so we're really gonna have to enjoy it.
I love it. Honestly, every time I have French onion soup, like the smell of it and like just its whole soupy, cheesy, delicious vibe transports me to like a little cottage in England, just a rainy night by the fire. It's happiness.
Did you have an actual like story where you were in?
No, I've never been to England.
Oh god, so just like in your mind, you're there.
I have a very rich inner world.
Gotcha. Sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need that.
And so in my mind, I've been all over the place, and that's where I eat French onion soup.
I approve. England is wonderful. Okay, let's try it and tell me what you think.
Okay. Gotta get that cheesy goodness and the bread. That's, it's like a little crispy on the top, but then soggy and delicious.
Good. Is it warming you up in this hot room?
I don't remember us flying to England, but here we are.
We are here. Should we ever come back? No, I think we're good in England, right?
The rest of this interview will take place in England.
Heard. I appreciate that.
And this takes forever to make, right?
Basically, you start off a pan with a little bit of butter, a little bit of olive oil. You put in 3 onions really thinly sliced. You cook them down till they're really caramelized, really dark. And then you can put in like some sherry wine or some like other white wine. Cook that down, and then you add in beef broth, and then you put in like fresh thyme, fresh bay leaves, and let it kind of cook down. And then after that, you put it in a bowl, you put on some toasted bread, and you put some Gruyere cheese, and then you pop it in the oven until it's a little bit broily on top, and that's French onion soup.
So good. Also, it's kind of funny. I just did a video at work recently in which I got my food sensitivities tested.
Oh, okay.
And my top 2 sensitivities are gluten and dairy.
Oh.
So basically, French onion soup should not be something I eat.
Be a rebel, you know.
I'm gonna eat it anyway.
Yeah.
I can't not. It's too good.
Okay, so while you keep eating, keep enjoying, I'm gonna ask you some questions, okay? And some of these were sent in by some of our friends, some were sent on different social media apps. But for you, Crystal, first we'll start with some of like the Goodful stuff, because people know you from Goodful. Yeah. So what is one of your favorite videos or one of your favorite recipes that you've made for Goodful?
Ooh. Okay. I think my favorite recipe that I ever made for Goodful was this dairy-free decadent chocolate cake.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Great choice. That's one of my favorites of yours, too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reason I like that one so much is like, I mean, first of all, chocolate cake.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. But second of all, it's an entirely vegan cake. And when I pitched the idea to make this cake, everyone was kind of like, like that's not gonna be good. And like I've seen plenty of vegan cakes online, and they always just kind of look dry to me, and they don't look super appealing, if I'm being perfectly honest. And I just was like, I don't think that's all there is. I don't think that someone who chooses to be vegan should have to resign themselves to a dry cake that doesn't taste good just because it's vegan. And so I was determined to make like the gooeyest, most moist, decadent chocolate cake. And no joke, I tested that cake like a good 7 times.
Yeah.
Like I tried it for so long. I ended up, when I was doing the frosting, I literally went and bought a bunch of frosting from the store, like just regular chocolate frosting, held it up next to mine and kept making mine over and over and over again until I made it look the same. And then eventually I got it, and everyone was like totally surprised because nobody believed that it could be done. And then I went around the office and like gave it out to people, like everybody on Tasty, and was like, try this cake, and everyone's like, it's so amazing. What's the secret about it? And I'm like, there's literally no animal products in this. And nobody believed me. Like everyone actually thought I was kind of messing with them. It's such a freaking delicious cake. It's indulgent. The idea is that if you are someone who chooses to abstain from animal products, you can still have delicious cake.
And you guys, she's not even talking about how beautiful the video is. Like, it's stunning. Like, Crystal is known for her beautiful videos. Go check it out and make that cake. Amazing. Okay, that's a great video choice. Okay, so now into like your love of film. So, do you have a favorite cinematic shot in a certain movie that like gives you chills or something?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I don't think I can say that there's a one specific shot of like all time that I can think of. So instead, I will tell you about a shot that I just saw recently on Handmaid's Tale, where I was just like, yeah, that's cool. But basically, and I don't want to give too much away in case you aren't watching it or you aren't there yet. I just caught up, but there's a scene in which someone is holding a gun. And oftentimes, or sometimes in action movies or whatever, you see that there's a contraption that basically the camera gets attached to the person and is right in front of them, so that as they move around, the camera's with them and the background is sort of moving.
Got it.
So in this scene, they do that, but they attach it to the gun. So the gun is the focal point and the person in the background are moving around. And it was just a really interesting choice, and it really added so much to like the sort of craziness and like the emotional like roller coaster of this particular scene. And it just made me sit back and like appreciate this show again, because I love the way this show is shot, and I have since the beginning, and that's actually what really drew me into this show. It's just so beautiful. It's so beautifully shot.
I have not seen it yet. Everyone tells me to watch it. It's on my list. I'm just so behind, like, but I know it's good, so I gotta watch it, and now I'll be looking for that shot. I'm sure it's like in like season 3 or 4, like
season 3.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha. Oh, one thing that I'm sure you have an interesting take on, it's like people always ask me, they're like, is culinary school worth it? Was it worth all the money? Is it worth all the time? Is it better just to like learn on set, or learn in a kitchen? So for you, was film school worth it? And what are your thoughts when people ask you that question?
I absolutely love this question.
Good.
I think that it entirely depends on where you're coming from when you're going into school.
Gotcha.
For me, personally, film school was hands down the best decision I've ever made in my life. There were a lot of people that did not think I could go to college, given my personal background and my upbringing. Chances of getting into college in the first place, not so high. But especially to go to film school, and not only that, I desperately wanted to go to UCLA Film School, which is the most competitive film school in the country. They only accept 30 students total, 15 that are from within UCLA and 15 that are transferring, and I was gonna be a transfer because I could not afford 4 years of university, so I went to community college first, and I highly recommend it. But I just knew, I just knew deep down from a young age that I wanted to work in film in some capacity. But I didn't come from that world. I didn't know anyone who worked in film. I didn't live in LA. Nobody that I knew, even like my whole life growing up, was really interested in film. Like my dad would take me to see movies all the time. That was like our thing, and I think that's kind of where my love of film first was sparked. But outside of that, I just had no way to like get into the film industry. And so I just kind of thought, well, if I go to film school and I go to UCLA, I will be in LA, and I will automatically be surrounded by other people who are trying to do the same thing as me. And maybe that will get me somewhere. Maybe I will like meet other people that are interested in this same line of work, and and it'll open up doors for me, and that's exactly what it did. I ended up getting in, which was like the best day of my life. I know it sounds like so silly because I think for a lot of people college is like the norm, or people are just like expected to go to college, but for me that was not the case. Like I'm not even joking. I remember after I applied and I was waiting to find out, I was speaking to a woman who was the wife of somebody that I worked with at the time, and she said to me, "Don't feel too bad when you don't get in." And
rude.
Yeah, and I remember looking at her and was just like, who hurt you?
Yeah. Why
says
spread that negativity?
Right, but she was not alone. There were other people who kind of scoffed at me at this idea, because also at that point I had like never made a movie. I had never done anything in film. Those opportunities were not there for me. There was nothing around me for that, and so my like knowledge of film was entirely just me by myself, like Googling things and watching hours and hours of behind the scenes footage, and like that's how I learned. And so then when I did get into UCLA, which was like for me just so exciting, you know, and then I went on to graduate valedictorian, which I'm very proud of. The Hermione in me is so excited. That's what changed my life, because I really did meet a lot of people there that I still work with to this day. Like, I got my job at BuzzFeed because I had a background in film, and I had a background in production, and outside of BuzzFeed, I work on projects sometimes when passion projects come up, and everybody that I work with is somebody that I met at film school, or somebody that I worked with through that experience. And so for me, going to school was about opening a door for myself that that door would have always been locked. And so it was absolutely 100% worth it for me. But I totally get that, like, if you grew up in LA and like you know people that work in the industry, film school might not really make any sense for you. It might just be a big waste of money.
So just like, it depends on everyone's personal situation.
Absolutely. I think it's about like what opportunities do you already have around you, and if you don't have any opportunities available to you, then school might be the opportunity that you need.
Exactly.
Soup,
yes.
Transport me back to England,
please. I feel bad because like I've eaten so much and you gotta catch up.
I'm talking so
I know,
much.
That's the one issue with the show. They just keep asking questions. They're like, sorry, I'm trying to eat and talk.
I was gonna say, why are you letting me talk so much?
Oh, also, this is like a little sidestep, but usually when I ask people for what their dream dinner is for the show, it's like pulling teeth. I have to like text them and remind them, not because my friends are like rude, obviously they're not, like they're just like really busy people. So like I'm always have to keep reminding them, like, hey, like just checking in, did you send your stuff over to me? And usually it's like a quick little email or like a text with what they want. But Crystal, you guys, this is why she's a true friend, and like why, and through all her story you can tell like this just proves why she's gotten so far, is she sent me like, it was like 5 pages of like everything that she could possibly want and like why, and the whole backstory, and it was just beautiful. And so I was just like, damn, like I can't wait to like explore these topics more with her, and I just really appreciate that she put all that time into it. So like it made me feel good. I was like a little bit embarrassed to send you that email. Oh yeah, you were, you mentioned that, yeah. I told him in the beginning of the email, I was like, I sincerely apologize for this novel that you're about to read. But like, I just get so passionate about things, like, and if you can't tell already, like, I'm a passionate person, and and that's something that I do like about myself. Of course, yes, don't change, do not change. And so when you ask me like, what dishes do you want, and like, is there a story behind it? And I'm like, here we go. Like, this is my thing. I love food. I love stories. I love telling stories. Let me tell you the stories behind these dishes and like why I love them. And then when you told me that I was like the kind of the first person to do that, I was like, how? Well, I think because sometimes it's hard for people to like choose something. It was hard to choose. And then also like some people don't have background stories around food, which is, for me, is I guess a little bit weird because I have like so many different like things I tie to food. But some people, you know, are just like a little bit more simple with life, and they have to like, until they like are actually eating it and they have the memories, it's hard to like think of it out of the blue. What's like your one advice for people to overcome hardships if they are going through something? Like, what's like your go-to advice? Ooh, that's a tough one. Something I think
I don't know if this is exactly like advice, but like I know something that got me through a lot of things was just picturing my own life, like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and just thinking about like, what do I want that life to look like? It's always like, I'm happy and I'm, you know, I have good friends and a great life and all this stuff. But then walking it back and being like, okay, well, what can I do for myself right now that's going to get me there?
Right.
And I think that that is also such an important tool when you are going through really difficult things, because nothing lasts, right?
Yes.
And like that can apply both good and bad, you know, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, like nothing you go through is ever going to last for your entire life.
Right.
So
what do I have to look forward to?
Exactly. Like what do you have to look forward to? Because you're not going to, if you're in a hard situation, whatever that situation may be, most likely, I mean, I can't speak for everyone or for every situation, but most likely it's not going to be that way forever.
Exactly.
And there's something that you can do for yourself that you have control over, that you can, like, there's steps you can take for yourself, even if it's something as simple as just like changing your mindset or like getting out of the house, or like, I feel like this is a terrible answer, but for me, it was like always, you know, picturing like, well, I wanted to go to college.
Yeah. Well, like vision boards and like mental, like what's it called? Manifesting what you want in life. I think it's so important, and then like writing down what you want.
Yeah, like picturing what you want for your future self, because then it gives you something to look forward to.
Exactly. Like putting it out into the universe, manifesting what you want. Actually writing it down, because it not only tells you that you can do it and that it's like your goal, but if you remind people around you that you have something that you're working towards, then they keep you accountable. Yeah. So I just think, that's wonderful. Always keep something that or always work towards something that you want for yourself.
Yeah. And then, you know, don't give up on it. Yeah. And actually, here's a better piece of advice.
Sure.
I think that you've experienced this too, where like sometimes people in your life, who can be so close to you and you can love them and they love you, but they're still not going to support you in something.
Totally.
And I think usually it's not coming from like a really negative place. I think most often when somebody kind of says that you can't do something, or like kind of laughs when you tell them your goals, it's not because they don't think you can do it. It's opening up a fear for them. It's because there's something about it that is triggering something for them, and they think they can't do something, or they tried something and it didn't work out, so they're like, oh well, you're not going to be able to do it. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is hear that person and just recognize, you know, you can still love that person, but just recognize that they're not saying that about you, they're saying that about themselves.
Whoa.
You can do anything you set your mind to.
Yeah, it's all about perspectives.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the deepest question portions ever on DinnerViews, so I love that.
I go for the jugular. I can't do small talk. I'm like, tell me your deepest, darkest fears. Tell me everything you've ever wanted in life, and let's just get down to it.
Exactly, and that's why this is why this show is what I want and what I'm trying to create, because I just think, you know, you see like interviews with celebrities all the time, or with influential people, or with politicians or whatever, but it's always like quick little bites, and it's like the same thing they said a million times, and you never go deep into anything. So that's why I wanted to create something where you can actually sit, have good food, talk with real friends, and like get deep into real questions and real problems. And I think that's what I'm trying to promote, and I'm glad that you're running with it here. Yeah,
I mean, I love that you're doing this, and you know, this is exactly what I love. I love when people get an idea in their head and they're like, this is a thing that I want. Yeah. I don't know how this is gonna look, I don't know how this is gonna go, but I'm just gonna do it one little step at a time. And here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Season 2 already. Crazy.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
I love being here.
Okay, so you keep eating your soup, and I'm gonna get the dinner ready. And so while you're sitting here eating soup, the next segment is called Dream Dish, right? So while I'm dishing your dream dish for you, you have to dish for us either a secret you've never told anyone before, or you have to kind of like reveal like something about the world they should know, like dish on a certain subject, a dish on a book, a story, something like that, that the world should know. Da-na-na.
Holy Matthew! Oh my God!
Yay!
This looks
good. Okay.
Dead. Like, what?
Okay, so in front of us, first start with the side. So this is a like a Greek beet salad. So there's red beets, some golden beets, and then a little bit of arugula, and there's a ton of feta cheese, cucumber, red onion, tomato, olives, and pepperoncinis. And this is, the story behind this is?
Okay, the beet Greek salad from John and Vinny's in LA. If you haven't been there, you need to go there. I think the reason I love this salad so much is that it like changed my mind on certain foods. Like, first of all, John and Vinny's is an Italian restaurant.
Right.
And I was never a big fan of Italian food. Hot take right now, like
I kind of agree. I am Italian. I think it can be kind of boring sometimes.
Yeah, it's also just like it tends to be heavy because it's cheese and it's pasta, and like I don't really feel good afterwards. Yeah. And so I've just never been the biggest Italian food fan. But I went to John and Vinny's, fell madly in love with everything I've ever eaten there.
Okay,
it's
good.
just unbelievable.
Awesome.
And then I had this beet Greek salad that we ordered, which also, I had never been a fan of beets. Just never. I ever?
Yeah, not very many people are.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's this salad that they have that's like roasted beets, and then it's like this Mediterranean mixture that's like fresh and bright and crunchy and just so many different flavors and textures. And I just fell in love. And like that night, I was like, my mind is changed about Italian food. My mind is changed about beets.
Nice.
And it's the best.
Thank you. And I'm gonna give you some more wine because you were out of wine. You deserve some more wine.
Oh yeah. Bring it on.
Fill
her up.
A little bit of ASMR in there. Okay, and then the second dish that we have here for like kind of the main entree is Crystal said that she had these like crab claws, like a dish in New Orleans, and it was like marinated crab claws with like a really Cajun filled cream sauce, and you have like pieces of bread that you dunk in. There was like lemons on the side. But finding crab claws is very hard outside of the South. If you can get crab claws, do the same thing that you've seen in the recipe videos, but you can use lump crab meat. And
it looks incredible.
Okay, great. And now and I know there's a huge backstory with this one. So.
This is a dish that I had when I went to New Orleans years ago. And it's sort of it was the very first time I ever went on a vacation, like period. Like, I mean, I had, gone places with my family when I was younger. And, before everything got
hard.
Crazy town.
Yeah.
But as an adult woman, like living on my own, the very first time I ever went on a trip, I booked just 10 days in New Orleans. We went for New Year's, and so it was just like this magical time in the city where everything was still decorated for Christmas, and it was like the air was crisp and cold. And so when we went to Café du Monde and we got our coffee and beignets, it was just like pure magic, and we just ate at every restaurant and completely indulged from beginning to end of every day. And this particular dish was from this little bar, or I shouldn't say a little bar, it was this restaurant called the Royal House Oyster Bar.
Oh.
And we're there one night and I ordered this dish, and I was just like, this is incredible. Like it's so flavorful, and it's actually an appetizer, but I had it as my main meal.
Yeah.
And I just remember sitting in this restaurant with my friend, eating this dish, having a glass of wine, and just feeling really like the possibilities of life were just wide open. Because it was also when I was actually applying to UCLA. This whole you might as well call this podcast How Crystal Got Into College.
No.
At this point.
It's a part of your journey. Don't feel ashamed about it.
Yeah. But it was when I was applying, and I was actually finishing my application while we were on this trip.
Yeah.
And I remember actually like the day the application was like, the last day they accepted it to be mailed, I was like in New Orleans, like furiously finishing it and like mailing it and like begging the person at the postal office, you swear it's gonna be postmarked today? Because if it's not, I'm not going to college.
Yeah.
But I remember I had sent it in, and I just felt like the magic of this city and like the love that I felt in this city sort of weirdly like made its way into my essay, and it just like was better because I wrote it there.
Yeah.
And so I'm eating this dish with my friend and just thinking about like, wow, like how far I had come in just even like a few short years. Because this was, I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there just feeling like so full of love and like so full of passion for life and like thinking about the possibilities of life, eating this dish, and I'm just like, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the wine. But I felt amazing, and it was just perfect. And then I ended up going back like 2 more times on that trip to get the same dish. And it tasted just as good both times, just as filled with magic and love. And I've just loved it ever since. I've never had it since, because this is not a dish I've ever seen in Southern California.
Yeah, it's a very New Orleans type dish.
Oh yeah. I just love like Creole seasoning and Cajun seasoning. Absolute favorite. It just like, there's so much more to it. Yeah. There's so much more depth, so much more flavor. It's just like every bite is a little party in your mouth.
Exactly. Okay, yay. Well, I hope I do it justice.
It looks really amazing.
Do you want to taste it first while it's still hot? Yeah. Okay, great. Why don't we want to do salad first? What do you want to do first?
I'm going to take a bite of the salad.
Great. Let's do it.
This is it.
Yeah. Yeah?
This is it. If you are listening at home and you're not watching this on YouTube, stop what you're doing. Pull up this video.
Yes.
Look at the colors of this salad.
Yes.
This is beautiful.
We can kind of hold it up for you, but yeah, if you're ever listening to this, you can always find all of the food on my Instagram, and also there should be a YouTube recipe video and a full-on video of the full interview on YouTube that you can find. And then I'm gonna dig into some of this.
We're gonna go for pure right now and just get that bite.
Is that bringing you back? It is? Okay.
I'm in New Orleans. It's New Year's. The possibilities are endless.
That's what I was going for, man. Wow, we've been to England, Italy, New Orleans. Traveling the world with you, Crystal.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, I have a very bright inner world, and you're just in here with me right now.
I love it. I'm a big like imaginative person too, so I love when people are like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep eating, but do you have that like little secret you want to share, or something you want to dish for us? Could I dish it for you? I
am double jointed in my shoulders and my left thumb.
Okay, can you demonstrate? Oh!
I don't know if you can see that at home, but
Wow.
But it's both my shoulders and just my left thumb, not my right thumb. Yeah. I don't know why. I just can't do it on that side.
Well, I've also like heard it possibly could be like sometimes like certain injuries can like awaken things, or it's just genetics.
Mine has to be genetics, because I've just always had it.
Well, that was an amazing dish, because not only we got like the secret, but we also got like a demonstration. So that's awesome. I'm
so impressed with this right now, because I tried to find you photos of these dishes. Yeah. Some of them are hard to find, but this one, the description online that I couldn't find any description of the actual dish from the Royal House. Right. But every description I found said it was just like a butter sauce. It was like crab in a butter lemon sauce. And so I was like, oh, but it's so much more than that. Right. It's like thick and it's creamy and it's got all these flavors to it. Yeah. And I was like a little bit nervous that it was just gonna literally be like lemon butter sauce to dip your bread in. Oh. So I'm like blown away right now, because it looks like it. It's thick and it's creamy and it's so flavorful. It tastes like it? It tastes like it.
So good, okay, because basically one thing that I'm really great at is kind of looking at a photo of something, or if I know a few ingredients, I usually can pick out the rest. And so I knew it had like a kind of like a orangey, like Cajun looking cream sauce. I knew it had the crab in it. And then I saw lemon, and I saw like a little bit of green, like onion or parsley in there. And then I know it's New Orleans, I know it's Creole. And then I know like in New Orleans they're really huge on roux, which is like roux, which are like the flour butter. So I was like, okay, it can't be too hard. That's why
it's so good. Yeah, okay. The butter.
Yeah. So it's like, it started with butter, and I sauteed some onions in it, and then you let the onions go until they're kind of dark, kind of caramelized, just like the French onion soup. And then I added in flour, and I let it cook down a long time, so it was kind of like a darker roux, which is like very classic in New Orleans. Then I added in some whole milk, a little bit of buttermilk, salt, pepper, and then like a Cajun seasoning mix, which like you can buy it, but it's also just a mixture of like cayenne, garlic, salt, maybe a little bit of oregano, a little bit of bay leaves, maybe some chili powder, lots of garlic powder, onion powder. Yep. So just mix that in, and then I mixed in like the lump crab at the end while it was still hot, and then you put in a little bit of herbage, which is right here I have parsley and some scallion, and then lemon juice, and that's all you needed. And so I could kind of get that from what you had sent me, and I knew it was New Orleans. So
He's like, and that's all you need.
yeah.
Did you get all that, guys?
Sorry, guys. Watch the video. Watch the video.
It's kind of a funny combination of items if you think about it. Like, we're just French onion soup,
Yeah.
beet Greek salad,
Yeah.
Southern
Creole.
crab dip.
Yeah, it's all over the place, but I love it.
But this is a perfect representation of like my life.
Yes.
And the way my brain works. It's just like a little bit from over here, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some pops of color, like.
I love it.
Also, I didn't, I mean, you and I met working, you know, for Tasty and Goodful.
Yeah.
If you don't know, Goodful is the healthy version of Tasty.
Yeah.
And so we met making food videos.
Yeah.
I had no culinary background. Obviously, if you haven't figured it out already, I went to film school, guys. But in college I would cook a lot for myself, and that's where I sort of like learned to cook. Because I was very, very poor. Very poor. And obviously cooking for yourself saves a lot of money.
It sure does.
And I had a friend in school, which, by the way, so I majored in cinematography, and the way that the program works there, or at least worked when I was going there, is that your first year, the program's only 2 years long, so you can only do it for your junior and your senior year. I think they accept students younger now, but still the main bulk of your onset learning and everything is later on. But so your first year, you kind of take all of the different classes. You study screenwriting, you study directing, you study cinematography, you study all the things, and then you choose a concentration.
Right.
And within that concentration, you do like your thesis. So I chose cinematography, and because I just love images and I love creating the image, and my cinematography class was only 3 students.
Wow.
And it was all female.
Oh.
The first in the history of the program, and that was really cool. Both of those other girls are like fantastically talented women, and one of them, she had like her own food blog. Had this beautiful food blog, and so when we were in school, we would like every once in a while like make a little dish and like photograph, and she'd put it on her blog, and that was like my first time ever actually like stepping into the world of like food media. Right. And I didn't, my goal was never to like make food videos or anything like that. It was a perfect combination of 2 things that I loved. Eating, cooking specifically though, and film. And it's like, when you're making a food video, it's only a couple minutes long, but you're kind of telling the story of this dish.
Exactly.
And I think for me, my love of cooking and of food, it isn't just about the food sitting in front of you. It's about the story of the food. It's about the ingredients that are used. It's about everything behind it and everything that goes into it. And that's what's so fascinating. And I think that's why these like these chef shows do so well, is because you're getting to understand everything behind the dish.
Exactly. And one thing that's like really interesting, I think we've had this conversation before, but I found it so fascinating, is like, we talked a lot about how like the film world and the food world are actually really similar. And that's why I think I fall in love with both of them too, because essentially both in the food world and the film world, there's like, it's very male dominated, there can be a lot of sexism and misogyny, you have to like show up early, you stay for like hours and hours on end, and you leave late. It's like hard labor. You know, you have to like prove and like work for like years and years and years to like rise up in the ranks. And also with both film and with food, it's like you really are telling a story with the art you're creating. So just like with a movie, a plate of food, you don't know all the behind the scenes, you don't know how it was all made, you just see the final finished plate in front of you, or you see the final movie that's on your screen. But there's a huge staff of people you don't know who worked on it, like whether it be not just like the chef in the restaurant, but also like the dishwasher, the purveyor who's bringing the food, the farmer, all these things you don't know about. Just like on a film, there's like the gaffer, the lighting person, the script, the
PA.
Yeah, all those things. And it's a whole team effort to bring you that plate of food. And then I also love that it's all about like, if you want to take like when it comes to plating, it's all about like, negative space and all about color patterns and all about like in the thirds and just like with cinematography and film. So I was
literally just gonna say, plating is like the cinematography of the dish.
Exactly.
And a film is a plate. Is a dish for your eyes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then like the script is like the recipe. Like there's so many parallels, and I've realized in my life is I love cooking. I always will, and I love food. I always will. But I've learned, especially in the last few years, that what I love most about food isn't like the slaving away in the kitchen. What I love about food is kind of the film aspects of it, where it's the storytelling of the food, the presentation of the food, and getting to sit down and enjoy the food and discuss it with people you care about.
Yeah.
So now I want to kind of go more into more discussions while we continue to eat, but like, what are some of like the lessons you've learned about being on set?
I think maybe one of the most important things that I have learned, and I think that this is something I'm actually like really still learning, is how to just really like shut up and pay attention. Because I think, like, in school, you're there to learn, so you're told all the things you're supposed to do, and it's like, this is how you do it. Yeah. This is the right way. This, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, when you actually get out into the real world and you're working, people do things totally different, and it doesn't make their way wrong. Right. It's just a different way to do it. Exactly. And so I think it's really important to like pay attention to that and never be stuck in your ways of like, well, I learned it this way, and so this is the way it has to be. Because I think a lot of people do that, and I think when you're on set and you have this like idea of the typical like crotchety like director, gaffer guy, or like whoever who's just like, this is how it goes and this is how we do things. Well, that's how you do things. Right. and everybody does things their own way, right? Everybody has like their own little flair to things, and I think it's, if you're trying to learn and you're trying to grow in this field, it will serve you so well to just watch the way that other people do things. And I think BuzzFeed is actually a fantastic like example of that, is that you have a lot of people who never went to film school at all, and who learned on set, learned by doing, who are some of the most incredible storytellers I've ever met. I think just being open to like learning how other people do things and not being stuck in your ways and thinking that like there's only one way to do something, or that your way is the right way, is so important, because you just stand to learn and grow so much more when you watch other people and like learn from other people.
And I think that's why BuzzFeed is so great at that, is because since they don't have that background to kind of like make them feel egotistic about anything, they're there to learn, and they're kind of hungry to learn from new people. And there's like a saying at BuzzFeed which really sounds harsh, and the saying is "kill your babies."
Oh yeah.
Which you're like, like that's still scary, but basically what it means is when it comes to artistic things, whether it be food or film, you can really get attached to like your idea about a story or about a video or like the way something is shot, and you can be like, no, it has to be this way, it can't be any other way, and that's like you're getting attached to like your baby. And a big thing at BuzzFeed is kill your babies, as in just like move on, learn from people around you, and like it's better to create more things and learn as you're going than get stuck and not create anything because it has to be perfect. Right. And I think like, so I learned a lot about things from that, where it's just like, yeah, it's not perfect, but guess what, you'll learn about that, you learned from that mistake, and you can keep making more stuff and learn more. Yeah. And I will say though that there's a balance to everything, because I obviously the whole kill your babies thing is a big part of it, because you're making so much content so fast. You don't have the time or the energy to like fight over certain things if that thing is not going to be the reason a video goes viral or doesn't go viral. Right. But I think that there is a time and a place to fight for those things. And that's something you just have to learn over time, and as you become more confident in yourself and like the story that you're trying to tell, there are times where it is important to fight for those little moments that maybe don't mean so much to someone else, but you know why that's an important moment or an important part of the story. And sometimes
when you fight for those, and then the other person on the other end is like, fine, whatever, keep it.
Yeah.
Then it goes out, and like that's the part everybody loves.
That works, yeah.
And you're like, I knew it.
Have you had something like that in a certain video that you fought for that people were not into, but you knew would work out?
I don't know that it was like a specific part of a video, but there have been videos, like whole videos, whole frames, where when I pitched them, I got a lot of like, what is that? Like, never heard of that. Like, don't do that. And then I like fought for it, and I was like, no, I have a feeling about this. Like, I think this is something that's gonna do well. Like, this is a thing.
Yeah.
And then they're kind of like, okay, fine, like you can do it. And then that video comes out and like, you know,
like,
does super well.
Like I remember the cake video did do really well.
Yes. Oh, it's one of our best performing videos, and nobody thought it was a good idea because everyone was like, that's not even possible.
Yeah.
Why not? Just try it.
Yeah.
And like, granted, I think it's important to clarify that we're talking about a very particular little bubble of experience right now.
Exactly.
It's just that particular machine that BuzzFeed is. Outside of that, like, it can be different. But I guess at the same time, it's not when you're thinking about like a feature film by a big like studio. Like, there's absolutely situations where a director like wants one thing, but they're having to appease all of these producers and all these studio heads. And so they absolutely go through situations where they have to kill their babies too. And so maybe it is a lesson for all of filmmaking, but
I guess it's just like the balance is important, and like in knowing like what's worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now obviously some people when I ask this question, they have an answer. Sometimes they're like, I'm trying to figure it out. But what, and you mentioned that you're someone that like looks forward in like 5 years, 10 years for what you're kind of working towards. So like, what's your next step in your life that you're kind of aiming towards? Put it out there.
Well, it's taken me some time to sort of come to this particular realization, but I have learned over time that my biggest passion is telling stories, right? And I don't really feel that I'm like the best at coming up with the story, but like I feel like I'm pretty good at sussing out somebody else's stories and helping them bring that thing to life. And I think that that's why I love cinematography and producing so much, is that for me, those two things at the end of the day are the same thing. You are taking somebody else's story and you are bringing it to life.
Right.
In cinematography, it's because you're bringing it to life visually, and then with producing, it's like all the logistics. You're actually putting together the possibility of a story coming to life. So ultimately, I mean, that is quite literally what I do right now. But I also, it's on a much smaller scale. And so I think ultimately I would like to be doing it on a much larger scale. I want to be feature films, documentaries even, because that's even just like another layer of telling people's stories. I recently learned that I actually do enjoy directing, which I never thought was a thing.
Whoa. Never
thought in a million years that I would direct something, and yet I find myself directing a lot recently and enjoying it. And
good.
And it's funny because I'm 100% someone who like takes the back seat on things. Like I'm not an in front of the camera person, which is why this is kind of weird for me.
She's doing great, guys, right? Send her love.
Because I'm staring at you the whole time.
No, that's what it's supposed to be. It's back and forth. If you were just talking to them the whole time, that'd be boring. Like, I'm here, so we're doing great.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, I'm not like, I'm a very private person.
Yeah.
I'm generally not in front of the camera. I like to be behind the camera, and like lifting other people up.
Yeah.
So the idea of me directing and like me taking the actual center stage of the production and being like, this is how everything is gonna go, never crossed my mind. And yet lately I have found myself in that position and really enjoying it, because I think every once in a while I come across a story where I'm like, I think that I need to be the one that tells this, and I think that I have a good take on this. But I also fully am like, somebody else can do this better than me. Someone else can totally tell this better than me, and so then I hire that person.
Gotcha.
But to watch other people that you love, who have passion for something, go out and like do that thing and like grow in that thing and like be getting joy from that thing. And like I feel so lucky and so grateful that I'm surrounded by people who are all, I'm gonna cry, who are like all doing that. Like you're doing DinnerViews and like you've got all this other stuff in the works, and like I have so many amazing friends that are all just pursuing their different passions, and like it's not all in film, it's not all in media. Some like Sadie's painting now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just so beautiful to like watch people chase their dreams, whatever those dreams are, because
life is so short, and to see like dreams kind of being fulfilled is just incredible. Well, also what's cool is like, especially when you like mentioned Sadie, like when your friends kind of go off and want more wine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you trying to make me cry?
Yes.
That should have been my secret. I'm a crybaby. It's like, but for happy things.
Yeah.
Like when I feel really happy or like I see a cute puppy, like I'll cry.
But yeah, like I just think like what's cool is like when your friends grow and change and evolve and do things, like sometimes you think, oh, like they're leaving me or they're doing something different than me and we're not going to see each other again. But like I've just learned that if you make a connection with someone, it's like never really over. And
so true.
And like people reconnect in life and get to work together again. So it's like when you make a friend that you know is talented, like you're gonna work with them again, and like then to see like all the new experiences they bring since you've last been with them, like it's just like wonderful. Like life is so great.
It really is.
Okay. So again, keep eating. I keep distracting you, but I'm gonna ask you some more questions. So basically, this next little thing, this is the DinnerViews guest book. Okay, you can see there's like food all over it because it's like getting schmutz on it. But everyone,
as it should.
Right. It's realistic. This is my life, messy and full of food. But so we have everyone, like they have like their name up here and they write a question for the next guest.
Okay.
Okay. So we have everyone so far, and the person who asked you a question was Jazz, which by the way she has.
Jazz.
Jasmine.
Oh my gosh.
She has incredible penmanship.
She really does.
So I'm gonna ask you her question.
She's a freaking queen.
Yes. And after we finish this, you'll write a question for our next person, which is Aria.
Okay.
Right?
Oh yeah, Aria.
Okay, so Jazz asked you, Crystal, I hope you have a great dinner. I don't know you, but after hearing about you, you seem like an amazing, strong person. I want to know what is something you love about yourself, physically and emotionally. Because she's all about like self-empowerment.
Oh yeah.
Doing your best with your life. So what do you love about yourself, Crystal?
Oh my gosh. So physically, lately, as I get a little older and a little more comfortable in my own skin, I have learned to love my body a lot more.
Good.
So I feel like I can't just choose one thing that I love about myself.
Amazing. List them all. List them all.
I'll say the first thing is my my smile.
Yes. Yes. A great smile.
Well, it's funny because I don't even think it's like a good smile necessarily, but let me clarify.
Sure.
When I like laugh and I smile about things, I do it in full force, clearly. Like my whole face scrunches up. Like it's not always super attractive. But that's how it always is. Like you know that I'm smiling and I'm like really happy about it because my whole face has been scrunched up into like a little pig face. But I like that because like, you know, it just
shows that you mean it. And
yeah.
It's real.
Yeah. I think also I like my curves.
Yeah.
Which I didn't, you know, as a woman, it's just like natural to not and to like have all kinds of body issues and be like, I don't look good in this and but the older I get and the more comfortable I get and the more like confident I get in myself, the more I like my body, and I like that it's like a woman's body. Like I'm not a tiny person. You can't tell because I'm sitting, but like I'm 5'10", and
tall
like
woman.
I'm not a tiny person. And for a long time, like in middle school and in high school, I did not like it. I would like scrunch down. Like I would like kind of like shrink down so that I was like the same height as everybody else. And now like I will wear heels and I will like shoulders back and up. And, like my
strut.
Right.
Yeah.
And like my boyfriend is actually a little bit shorter than me, and I will still wear heels and I will tower over him and just be like, this is me.
Yeah. Good.
And he loves it and I love it. And so yeah.
Nice. And then emotionally, what do you love about yourself?
I know that it can be kind of a lot for people, but I really like that I get emotional with other people, and that I try to go below the surface. Because I just think there's so much to a person, and that you don't have to like hang out up here and like just talk about the weather. I don't do well with that. I really like to get to know people on a deeper level, and I think some people don't like that so much. Like I've definitely had people pull away from that.
A lot of people have walls, which is hard and sad, but I guess everyone's different, but when you can go deeper, it's really nice.
Like we all have walls, but I really like breaking people's walls, and I like that.
But I agree. I love that about you too. Both the physical stuff and the emotional stuff. You know, I from the get-go, even though like I didn't know a lot of this more stuff that we did talk about tonight, and I'm glad you felt comfortable to share that with me. But even if it wasn't that, like you and I have had some wonderful conversations over the years, and like I think when I first wanted to do DinnerViews, and when I was first having like problems with work, like you were one of the first people that really kind of inspired me to like go with my gut, follow my passions, and like follow like what I want to do artistically, and that's just always meant so much to me. So like I'm really grateful that you do get emotional, because I think that's how you make real friends. It's true, Crystal.
Oh my god.
Okay, so we are kind of getting towards the end of the dinner view. There's plenty of food that we'll eat after, but
we're eating.
One of my kind of last questions I always like to ask people is, if there was a younger Crystal here, about 7 years old, okay, cute little Crystal, A, what would she think of this food, and B, what would you tell her to give her some advice?
Oh. All right. 7-year-old Crystal wouldn't eat any of this food. I'm just gonna
people always say that, and sometimes I'm like, should I be asking this question, because it makes my food not always look great, but usually it's because like they're kids, so
I mean, she would have tried it.
Yeah, but I could see salad, too many vegetables, crab, odd, like onions maybe. So,
who knows?
Yeah.
But if I could give 7-year-old me advice, as cliche as it is, like it would honestly just be to like keep going and like, and just believe in yourself. Just always, always, always believe in yourself. And I think that goes for like anybody ever. No, 7 years old, 70 years old. Like, always just believe in yourself, because has there literally ever been a person in the history of the world who just like totally believed in themselves and then was like, and nothing worked out anyway?
Yeah, no. Like if you have the self-esteem or like the mental wherewithal to like actually fully believe in what you do, that's when things start to work out.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is now the end. Thank you for spending this time with me. Like it's been nice. It's been like a nice hour and a half, and like we've gotten to know each other more, and I haven't seen you in a bit, so like catching up has been wonderful, and I can't wait to talk more after we're done here. So for those of you who are watching, whether you just watched the recipe video or you were here for the entire time while you're making dinner, I know it takes a lot to invest in watching the show because it's so long, but if you are here, thank you. Know that I appreciate spending this time with you, and thank you for enjoying our dinner, and I hope you make this for yourself, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Yay.
So full right now, but I want to keep eating.
Yes. DinnerViews is created by a small and mighty team. Food support by Cullen Folks and Sarah Johnson, co-editing by Mishelle Martin, and the series is directed, produced, co-edited, and has original recipes cooked by me, Matthew Francis. You can follow me on all the social media apps with the handle MatthewFrancisJ. Okay, that's it. Peace out.